agreement. The slide allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Are they all? Did you sit in here? Agenda? No, I didn't. Oh, in your box. Like you have.
I have an agenda, yes.
Jack, I saw Jack.
What? I got one. Oh. No, you got one. I just saw it. Yeah, I got mine down there. Keep it over there, it's on track.
Somebody down there? Yes. Okay, you're ready.
Okay, roll call. Cindy.
Mr. Blanton,
Here.
Mr. Reiniger,
Here.
Mr. Robinson.
Here. Okay, that's all right. Mr. Gordon Borline. Got anything?
No, sir.
Is here to see how we run. Okay. I guess we move right into the board. Mr. Blanton.
Well, I have a few things. First one is, I just got this from their record now. It's dated yesterday, but I just got over it today. So this is the let me go into it. The park on East Miami River Road in Buffalo Ridge that we said before we built the firehouse that we needed to replace that park in the back with the small park on the corner of Buffalo Ridge, East Miami. So that's why we bought those lots. We were only pretty good with that. So this professional service project agreement is a follow-up to that. So, and I know you don't have time to review it, but it gives the site demolition plan, dimensions and layout, material plan, site details sheet, site utility plan, site grading, erosion control plan, planning notes, details, prefab pavilion drawings and cut sheets, prefab playground equipment and safety service drawings and cut sheets. So if you look at it and review it, we can talk about it more now. But it looks like the cost would be 44.50 for like 59,000. It's got construction documents, competitive bidding, then we construct administration. And that hourly there is they're just estimating that's what that costs. So, and the plans are attached to the back and we don't install those.
The 59,000 is, what was it again? The engineering of it or?
Construction documents, competitive bid documents, and construction.
But not actually one of the. Okay, I just, so I can put it in the bin. Okay.
Construction documents, competitive bidding, construction administration. And then the plans are attached to the back. Overall, it's going to have two small playground areas, small pavilion, picnic area, and a small parking lot. And a walking area. I don't think he put the cost in here. This is, he didn't give me a cost estimate on that, I don't think. But I believe it's supposed to be anywhere from 350 to 500,000.
The total cost of the project.
Yeah, the total cost.
That's above and beyond this cost or any other things that have come before here.
Also, I talked to planning and development, and we got awarded that 42,000 grant. That was 2.5 years ago, and they were letting us carry that over to 2024 to apply. So, and that's 42,000 even. Now, also, Kim sent, I think she said she had her email. She sent both of you that email yesterday. That from the Hamilton County Planning and Development about the Buffalo Race Park, but also about projects we got coming up in the future that we can apply for in 2024. So, and I'm not sure about this, but I talked to them yesterday, but I didn't address it. But to see if we can apply for more money in this park, and I'm not sure if we can, or if we can apply for money to help with the amphitheater, down in West Park. Or maybe to be able to apply for both of them.
Yeah.
So, and that's coming up. I'm gonna bring that email. But Kim sent it to you, read it in there. It gives a timeline, which they want projects, they said, specifically projects that dig up dirt in 2024 will be moved to the top. So, and that's what we're shooting for in both of these projects. So the amphitheater and the project. So now what kind of money they got, there's a bunch of them. But what we would get awarded, I don't know. But one of the things in there, and you got to read it, one of the criteria is the income area. Like, I don't think it's for lower income areas, which the park qualifies for that. The Buffalo Ridge Park qualifies for it. I'm not sure if West Park qualifies for it. We apply for either the extension or the amphitheater, or the other, I don't know, but at least I say we at least apply for it. Don't get it, not apply for those spots. So we're all 3 spots. So with the extension part, there's no way that's at the earliest in 2025. So, but I will reach out to them and then start working on that. And I know I try to apply for money for both of those. See if they will give me the okay to apply for that. I would think we could apply for it, get turned down or not. I don't know. Or we could apply for it, get more money granted for each project. I don't know. So, but either way, I think we'll apply for it and just see what they come back with. We'll know, I can't remember the dates, but once you apply, the deadline is coming up in the next couple of months. And then, like, you will know, I think it was March or April. Do you remember reading that, Kim?
Yeah,
Something like
I
that?
don't recall the actual time
But
frame,
it was in the spring,
yeah,
because they want you to get moving on the project. And then it does specify in there that if your project is gonna start construction in 2024, that it will get more points than other projects in 2025. So it's worth a try. I'm gonna try to apply for both and see what happens, but I will reach out to them and see what they say. Go from there.
What are we supposed to hear about roundabout stuff? I don't know.
Well, I'm trying to reach out to the engineer here to get an update, but it is supposed to be originally in December. As it relates to this, so have we approved this drawing or these renderings, Dan, or is that?
I'm sorry, what?
These drawings towards the back,
Yeah,
have these been approved or are these just ideas still? And have we got any, are we trying to?
that's an idea.
You said preliminary.
When you say approve, I don't know what you mean, or like the finalization. We can
Well,
change.
if next meeting you bring this up and propose. This one.
I just had mine off.
I don't know how to fix it.
Mine helped when I turned mine off.
Yeah, mine's all.
Okay, I think it's hard to. Sorry, Mike.
You're fine.
So I would say it's,
Like if you're gonna bring this forward next meeting for consideration. I'm just trying to get a better idea of what exactly that means and if by approving this, they're moving forward with these renderings, and if so, like, do we need to, did we put the residents there, are we okay, or what?
we've had,
We're down there?
yeah, well, from the community, trying to think who was down there, children was involved in that community or not. We had 4 or 5 people to sit in on where, we had 2 meetings about this and then about the park extension.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah.
So but the construction project agreement, the professional service project agreement is to get this all ready. If we want to change something, I mean, we can. It shows the parking lot. It's pretty detailed, and I like it. I don't know, like, if we need to change something, we can, but I would think this would be like pretty much the finalization, final drawing.
And then would we have, I mean, you said 350 to 500,000. I mean, certainly, there's not gonna be a perfect number, exact number, but would we have a better,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe within 50,000 or something like that,
Right, after this, when we approve this, then I think comes the cost of this.
okay.
Yeah, they're gonna generate bid.
Then after the cost analysis, they'll go forward with the package and,
Do you know what?
right,
All right, so,
construction.
so we don't have to put this out for bid,
Correct,
but
That's
then
just
the
going
next
on.
part would be putting it out for bid.
correct. That'd be, Baron Becker being,
Yeah, we handle that.
And Hamilton County's gonna be involved in that too. It's like 42,000.
Okay.
So they're gonna receive, I had email correspondence and talked to them yesterday. And everything they send me is gonna go to Baron Becker also. They make construction documents and everything for us to get that 42,000.
And basically what you're looking for is an approval for them to do this. It's not, we're not really, we wouldn't really be approving the drawing in the back necessarily.
Right.
We'd be approving going out
Correct.
for the
Yeah,
construction
construction
documents.
documents, better
And
than
bid
documentation.
based on the particular.
I'm happy to take a look at it and, bring it up in 2 weeks and then we'll.
Yeah, that's fine. And then if you got suggestions on the back door, we can always look at it, and if you feel something different, if Jack feels something different, we can always look at it. And if we can't agree to it, I mean, then we can vote on it, but if we want to add, or we want to take away something, the parking lot's small, it's just a quaint little park out there, and I think it's gonna look really, really nice.
And sorry, in the construction administrative allowance, you said that that's just an estimate on what they anticipate.
They're gonna use, right, it could come in less than the Mark said, so it's just a high number.
Being,
So we didn't go over.
okay. Yeah, I don't know if we have done this in the past or not, but, would we say like, that's the estimate, but
We can get,
like, you have like up to a, kind of deal, just, but
yeah, we can, I don't see why this.
And if we approve, I will, if not,
Yeah, we're not gonna.
okay.
hey,
I will next week.
Is there restrooms gonna be in that park?
No, we're back to the,
Restroom.
we're back to the sewage deal, so with it being a smaller park, the cost for that, I would think it would outweigh putting restrooms anyway, so we'll use, what I like to do at West Park, and we shut down the water, which we just shut off. So now they're just straight toward us, so. And at any given time, I would think there would be, besides when the shelter is used, I would think there would be, anywhere between 3 to 8 people in those. That's what I would think. But with that small pavilion there, it gives the people in that community somewhere to go. And in order to, and go to the place and stuff like that.
But yeah, the reason, the other part that we did away with, the pavilion there's.
Right.
You need to replace.
We're putting this back.
You need to do that.
They have that, have a ball field, and have some swings and a couple of facilities.
Yeah.
So at least we're putting it back, and we all agreed that when we build a firehouse and we replace the park, and we use the park property for storage of construction storage materials and that kind of stuff. So that's what we're the other thing I have is the bulk filling station. We've been working on it, Ronnie and I. Now we've got our original proposal from Ken Iyer, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, but it had a lot of add-ons on it. It was for $40,000, $42,000. Justify the cost of it. This proposal, and this is just for discussion tonight too. This gives us a connection to a 2-inch water tap meter. And then it's installed a U200W yard hydrant with backflow preventer and a hot box protection device. The meter pit, the hot box, the fill station will be installed in close proximity. Electric to the hot box and others, install fabricated hose stand, provide 2-inch to 10-foot long hose. Pricing does not include the pressure reducing valve to allow for quick fill. We find the installation of the piping used by water to install 2-inch pressure reducing valve. So overall, what he's looking at here is $11,950. Now, Romney and I talked about it, and we thought we could, if we can discuss this, and then I can bring it up at our next meeting, see how you guys feel about it. And, I got to give you copies of this. I didn't give you copies today. But we were thinking we were going to go close to Baxter's property as we can, away from West Park now. So it would be, when we develop that area, it would be at the very end of the park, right before you leave our park and start Baxter's property. So we could possibly, we could blend it in with landscaping and some other stuff. But when I'm talking about that, Ronnie and I also, we talked about, we've got to have a way to keep the water from freezing. So we talked about the storage shed there, running that water up through that. And then we started talking more and more about it. We're going to develop that in the park, and then we started talking about instead of $5,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 storage unit or a shed, we could put a small pole barn in there with electric, obviously, and then where they could store some of their maintenance equipment without having to go all the way back to the shop and get it, and come back and go back and forth. So that's something we need to think about. Not a huge, we're not talking about a huge building. And I'm thinking maybe something like And Ronnie said the same thing, maybe, 16 by 20, something like that, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe like 24. But we could put that in where they could have the storage in there, you could have the water line come out the side of it where they could vacuum, fill their water. And we would have a presence right by the road, we would have lawnmower equipment in there, we equipment in there. And where they could work on that end of the park and leave that stuff where they wouldn't have to haul it over, put it on the trailer and haul it every time they work at that end of the park. So it's a thought, something to think about. He also sent me Brennan Electric, he got an estimate from them for $4,475, and that's on top of the $11,950. But that's just for the, it's the furnace, a 25-foot utility pole, drilling for the pole, including 1 meter panel, 200 amp overhead service, and 2 GFI receptacles located on the pole. Inspection fees and permits are included. So overall, I think instead of looking at 40-something thousand, we're looking at 4, we could possibly get this for 15, and if we decide to use a shed, if you guys don't like the storage, the pole barn for the maintenance department, we could go with a smaller shed, it would be less cost, would be about 20,000. If we decided to go with pole barn, we maybe be at 23 to maybe 25,000 to get that all installed. But once we get it installed, we still have the building, we'll have the water filling station for residents out there. And they'll be able to use it on weekends that when they complain to us about Nyer across the river. So something to think about. I'll email you both these documents. I didn't do that. I just got the electric estimate today. So I got the Nyer proposal and I forgot to send it to you. I'll send it all together. I got it last week or the week before.
Is the plan to have it metered and they pay for the water, we're gonna pay for the water until they get the water off?
Well, we're really having to make that decision there. The meter is what costs the most money, right? So we're trying to find a way, and Ron and I were talking about that too, where they could pay up here or send them money and we would have a code each week for them to access, something like that. So something low key, so those water haulers can go in there and fill up like this. So, something that would, and that will be low cost for us. And then it's on, we put some responsibility back on the company. They don't send in the payment each month. They don't get the code, they can't access it. They can't access it. So that's the thought.
In a shed, you go up to what, 400 square feet, we need to permit it. Right about 20?
Probably,
Yeah, right. I think you're allowed. The township is allowed 400 square feet without permit.
So we've got 20 by 20.
Yeah.
So I know we definitely can use the space, especially when we get that, the rest of the park. So, but think about that, I'll see.
Okay, this is when. So you can start working, getting them water.
Well, we don't know, we want to look at the building costs first. So I'll have that for you before the next meeting. So we're trying to move this along. This one, you both are here. They'll probably be out. So we're trying to do something low cost, but plus will be a benefit to the township in the long run for the storage facility. So I think it's a win-win for residents and the township for the equipment ones. But yeah, I'll put it all together for next meeting and bring it up. We'll discuss it, so you guys think.
How long, not already given us, but how long do you think it would take to do it? I didn't see.
I don't know. I don't know, Chuck, to be honest with you. I would think it would be a couple of days, I would think. Would you know, Brandon?
No, without seeing a drawing of some sort to actually see what they're doing on, but if I heard you correctly, they're gonna put an underground pit in.
That's what he, yeah, yeah, I'm
See,
not,
that's,
I'm not
that's
familiar
going to be
with
all.
this
I
terminology.
mean,
The meter,
meter pit, it's probably just like for your home residential, but it'll take it to that. So,
that's coming up,
well, it'll be in, meter pit would be in the ground. So
all that.
that's,
The meter pit
I'm
for the
assuming,
water.
I don't know, but to me, $11,000. That doesn't sound too bad, to be honest with you.
Well, that's what I think too.
But I'm thinking, but I haven't seen the drawing.
Well, he doesn't have a drawing attached.
Okay,
It's
but
just a proposal.
this is me as a public guy. I wouldn't sweat the building too much right now. You get these people water, you're gonna make a whole bunch of them happy.
Right,
And you,
Well, that's how I'm-
you build the building
Right.
around the tap when you develop the park.
right,
I mean,
yeah. Sort of a
If you-
win-win.
right down there in Cleves, they let people get water 12 months a year, so there's a way that it'll drain.
Right, that-
You know, the old one, I used to go there when I moved out here, I don't have one. I got a sister, I hauled water for years out of that Cleves. I'm in the situation now, the kids are gone, they don't use as much water, but, so I'm not into that hauled water. But, you know, these fire hydrants drain. If you pull off a fire hydrant, they drain most of the time. You know, right back down there on East Mount River Road, where all this conversation came up, me and Ronnie discussed it, that's Ace Water Hall. He's got a little 10x10 Connex. He's tapped and went up the hill and he's got this meter on Connex. Evidently, that's not free, and that's real economical. You know, do you have to make it look like Taj Mahal right now to get these people water and fill up your park around and
Well, that's what we're trying to
you
do.
know what I mean? I mean, I wouldn't run a brush field the building, that's just me at one cover, but there's, you know,
Right,
construction going on around there.
right.
Uh,
Well, that's true too.
I mean,
So, boy, Ronnie, see, that's what we talked about, and I'm going to do something tonight. It's why they don't freeze, where it's something back across flow valve or something like that. So where the water comes up and then when it's turned off, it lets it go down and shuts it down, so for an island or something like that. So with Ronnie's convinced that we need, electric ran there right now to plus a building, so it doesn't freeze. And I like, again, I'm not sure, he'll be able to explain it to you next meeting. So I'm not real good. So.
Again, so I can wrap my head around, it. So there, you said it's gonna be about 16,000 total for these two, and then you said something about 20 or 23 or something like that. Is that the total cost, or is that if we did the shed and all,
The shed or the pole,
or is that above and beyond?
No,
That's
that's
okay, that's all. Okay, gotcha.
so, and I, I'm
Sure.
looking at, what Barry just said, we give these people water right away, whether we put a shed on there or not, we put pole building. I think we really need to look at it and try to get it done, especially how cheap it is.
Good.
So,
now, do you guys have to buy the tap, or Steve's just gonna give you the tap, or the tap's in Meyer and Myers?
Ronnie's clarifying that because he thinks they're gonna, he said he talked to him once, he's gonna talk to me again and clarify that Cleves is gonna be responsible for bringing that up.
Oh,
That's what he said.
This is connected to existing 2-inch water tap after the meter pit.
But now,
so no,
This is connected to an existing 2-inch water tap
so that's not the tap. That's not from the main to the.
after the meter pit.
That's where, to me, that's what sounds like Myers giving you a price from the meter pit. From the, over to the main.
when they bring it up and then from there,
From the main to the meter pit, sounds to me like that's not included.
right, that's what
That'll be
Ronnie
it.
thinks. Cleves was gonna do that. So I'm not sure, that's coming from me.
Yeah.
And I just talked to him about it again today. So you'll be able to, I'll talk to him about it again before we meet again. And then get clarification and over this man. So but overall, again, I think for the cost of our. Um, yeah, that's good.
So you wanted to ask,
I'm sorry, because I don't know what, I'm sorry, Mike.
you're good.
Take one mechanical. That'd be my lot.
No, this is all.
This is on.
Yeah, this is. Sorry, go ahead.
You're fine. Mostly I wanted to ask if we're ready to post for the fire chief, position.
I think you're ready to put it forward, but, or I thought Robbie would be here. Said he had.
He asked me and I told him I didn't think he needed to be here, but
Okay.
I asked him about it too, and he said he's just waiting on you guys to post it and move on.
Is it, did he had it ready to post the final?
If we're the ones,
Because I never seen the final.
I really don't know.
Do you want to know this?
And ask Robbie if he's got the final photo for the fire chief.
Show me the promotion.
Position, not the benefit, I could just the position.
These, I know we discussed, so we decide. Who we're gonna use for this.
You know what,
Up there more strategic,
who?
up there more strategic, last meeting,
Yeah, I thought we decided that because that group in the fire department. They
was
wanted
way much,
$9,500.
it was much higher, right?
And then what was strategic?
Well, at this point, it would just be an hourly rate and, the volume would be way less, obviously, than an administrative. So you're probably looking at instead of 275, 300 applicants, you might get a dozen or something, whatever. So, it should just be the hourly rate. So it could be very minimal if you already have that contract in place. So it could just be a matter of, having the applications run through them and they, do their vetting and then pass it along and we, take a look and consider how we want to proceed.
Their contractors was like $125 an hour.
Okay, so he brings it over, it's ready tonight, then we can review it and go ahead and vote on it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that he told me was that he didn't know about insurance, and I thought, well, our insurance hasn't changed in a year, so there's nothing. Great, so we've got all that information, so it's just a matter of incorporating that into what they've been working on, I guess, or whatever they've been working on. And again, I sent them a couple of those that I've seen from other fire chief postings, and I'd like to get moving as soon as possible to get the ball rolling. But I will say while we're waiting for him to come over, again, we do have a pumpkin chuck. That is a partnership with Kiwanis, Three Rivers Police, Kiwanis, and Three Rivers School District this Saturday. And I did for the McDonald's house yesterday. And our Kiwanis group has volunteered at the Ronald McDonald House with food preparation. Former trustee Paul Beck was kind of headed that up for us with our group. And certainly puts things in perspective when you see some of these kids and some of these families that are really willing to out trick or treating and enjoying their time. Some of the adversity that they're going through. So we just need to see a group like that around. But now I think that there's a lot of discussions around sheriff's, that's. Unless, but the manager was gonna bring up anything on that, that's all I.
The city's got some proposals.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just.
They're actually good proposals. I mean, depending on which one we want to getting with them, it could be a 1.5 mil increase, up to a 3 mil increase.
I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I really was only looking at the bottom one with the villages.
That's right.
And then Jack called me and I realized, oh, maybe I should I never even thought about the top proposal. So that's when I went and did some more work. And when I say I'm saying at least 1.5 mil if the village is, but based on the numbers we have on the top, it would have to be at least 3 mils. If we,
When would that be, next year? When it comes out?
yeah,
That's
we
when it
would have
comes
to
up.
increase. Right
So-
now, we're 2.10.
We would be a renewal and an increase. of
Right.
3 million
Well, if we went with the top one,
with
this, yeah. Now, that could change because you got the email today.
Right.
I won't know till January on our new, because all our taxes are going skyward. So I'll know that in January to know maybe with what we're bringing in, we won't need it with 3 mils, but. So I wanted to make sure you guys understood that we're now, if we went with the bottom, we have the money in there to get through next year with what we have already in there. If we went with the top, we would be there, we would have it would be close. I would be
We could still
uncomfortable, I
have-
would be uncomfortable with this, the top
I
one.
would too.
We could still have to do with an increased levy starting for 25, no,
Yeah,
next year.
Yeah, but I'm saying if we decide to go with the contract on the bottom for January 1st, whatever, we would be able to get through next year with the money we have in the lease account.
So it would be on the ballot.
Yeah,
Renewal.
yes, we would have to, there's no way. We would definitely be in the hole next year if we did,
25.
yes.
We see, if you gotta look at those numbers in the bottom there where it says 1.75 to 2.25, that means you're paying for 1.75 cars, you're paying for 2 cars, you're paying for 2.25 cars. This is what 3 cars are gonna cost you in those years. So you need to make sure,
I'm putting the numbers in that's on here on our thing.
yeah, but it's gonna have to be based on the number of cars. If you're gonna have 3 cars out here, which is what the pushing telling you to take.
Well, I'm assuming this here is our number here for 2.25 cars, that would be our amount.
That would be our amount. for
Right,
2
that's
and 4
the
cars.
numbers I put in. It's
And
all,
there would be subsidizing the difference between 1.4 and 1.9 to cover 3 cars. They're gonna have 3 cars out here. And starting in 27, we're understanding, 27, they're gonna have 3 cars, and it's gonna be all on you, on everybody. The 3 villages in the township, the 2 villages, unless Addison goes in.
So our cost would be, next year would be 685,000,
20% a year.
and then we have enough money for that, right? That's what it's.
for this year, or for next year, I'm
For
sorry,
next
yeah.
year, 24.
If we went with the
So
bottom.
we would have to put the renewal on plus an increase. And what would the increase be for this? What you said?
1.5.
Yeah, I'm saying at least 1.5, but like I said,
On
if
top of
we,
your
if
2.1.
we're, right now, we get in 370,000 a mil. If that goes up to 450 a mil, it could go less. I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. I say at least, but it all still depends on what we're gonna bring in on a new, our
But where the new money is just be on the new village. I mean,
no, if we renew the village we have, that would bring in the new.
okay, so
So that's what I'm saying. I really.
renewing the 2.10 doesn't renew it, it's the old village.
But I sent an email, I don't have it in front of me, but we have so much that's continuing that we cannot touch.
That's right.
Yeah, so we have 2.10,
There's contention
1.6 was continuing, I think that 0.5
with the
was
new.
voted. So that 0.5 would be renewed, we would get the new.
I knew on 0.5 plus the 1.5 would be new monies also, but the other, the one that's there for
We
gratuity,
would not get.
you would not get the new money, you get it on based on the old valuation.
Unless we just take that all away. Just put a totally new levy on.
But then if it goes down, you got nothing.
Right.
If this goes down, you still got your 1.67.
Right.
That's what I was gonna ask you, so when we put this on next year, no matter what we're putting it on, either renewal or renewal. We have to do that together. So what am I,
The 0.5.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter.
Isn't that normally how they do it?
Yeah, they'll go together.
And it's together.
What they would do is 0.5 with an increase of
Right.
3 months.
Do you intend to increase the general fund?
I think we're gonna have to.
Okay, so now we talked about,
Maintenance.
we've already done the run for half a mil. Now you're going to do at least 1.5 to 3, and next year is also the fire limit. It's going to increase based on your contract.
Fire levy?
Yeah.
Have to be a police and fire at the same time.
And then the general fund is in
You're at
26 or 27. But I don't know.
for 70, all of them, all this funds going to be increased. The zoo's going to be wanting money.
But that's everywhere. It's shady, it's everywhere. We can't, I mean, we've been living on a general fund 0.6 for 80 years. I mean, I'm not saying we're doing our best to try to not put levies on, but we're spending money like it's and we're growing, we're growing. No, we haven't, I think we're one of the lowest. I
If you
agree
fully
with you, you don't want to see
you're
it,
the
but
second lowest in the
the economy's so crazy right now that you go to the store and your grocery bill is triple now than what it used to be. So you got to think what's happening here.
Wait till they start buying this crude back to put in the strategic reserve.
So I got a couple other questions. So we're at 564,749 right now, what we're bringing in. So then we're gonna put a 1.5 mil increase. We're just discussing for next year. So that 1.5 mil increase is gonna be able to cover 822,025 and 978,026.
I went all the way out. And it's basically, when I did
And
it,
then
it's like,
is it
it's
for
like,
5 years?
it's like a 20% increase every year.
Would it be for 5 years?
I think it's a 5-year. We don't have to. We can do a 3-year renewal, or when we put it on, we can do 3 years. We don't have to do 5 years, but normally we do 5 years, but the way things are going,
Yeah, more and more are doing the 3 years with everything that's going on right now, and to give you flexibility to reevaluate with, like you said, the economy and so much uncertainty with home values, with inflation, with everything else. They're doing the 3 years
Right.
instead of 5 years so that they can,
now the garbage was okay because we got that contract for 5 years, so we can do that was good, but
But it's good for next
Fire?
year.
I think you need to, I agree with Mike that, or my opinion is also, I would have said, let's do 3 years. It's so iffy and we don't know about the sport, I mean, for sure. But I
27.
mean, we got.
The only downside to that would be we're asking for a renewal and increase, and then 3 years later, we're asking for
another
renewal. Increase.
Yeah, but we could be doing it, if we did 5 years, we might need it.
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, that's why I said at least 1.5, because
Right.
maybe we want to do 1.6, just to make sure we're like, yeah, that's what I'm,
well, my proposal was the whole half car discount, if you recall from the last meeting, where we potentially asked for the equivalent of a 12-hour car, so long as Whitewater, Crosby, and Harrison Townships aren't paying to try to incentivize that. some fairness to our taxpayers, but all things that we should look at, but it doesn't sound like we're gonna have an idea of, you know, on taxes until January, you're saying, Cindy, so, if I, was Assistant Chief Street available?
He was not there, however, Sissy told me that, Assistant Chief Street sent an email of the job description to all of you guys a while back. They could resend that tomorrow, but her understanding was, in today, we was speaking with Mrs. Oser, that Rob did not want to do the posting. He felt like that should come from the township.
Right.
But I gotta approve it. We have to approve the posting.
But he said that we should, the township should write it on.
Yeah, I remember he sent it out. The thing was, he was gonna do away with some of those non-essential, like, swift water and stuff that's not required. He was gonna cut it. And that came from, Travis. Was Travis,
I think Sissy went back and spoke with Travis while I waited, so I'm not exactly sure how that transpired.
but we'll have it quick, like, next week, Mike. Before the meeting, we'll have it next week, it's a week before the meeting.
Yeah. Captain King is here though.
Do we have a date for administrator to start?
I have
So I sent a copy of the draft contract, this afternoon. I just received it at like 12:45 or something from, our attorney, and, I immediately forwarded on to you guys, so if you can do that, let me know if you have any thoughts or suggestions on change it, and as soon as I hear back from the board, we'll present it to the applicant, and hopefully, get that contract solidified here soon. But tentatively, he is requesting, with other conflicts of other jobs that he needs to wrap up, in the meantime, start date of November 14th.
And also, you need to watch at the end of the proposal, the allocation, how we're allocating the money. I mean, we're paying 66%, North Bend's 8%, Cleveland's 25%.
Right.
So basically, you're subsidizing Cleveland and North Bend.
Well, I was gonna bring that up too. So what, and here's my thing. I brought this up last time. North End, government said that they weren't gonna pay anymore. I think it was 87,000.
And what the levy brought in.
Right. So they got them on the hook for from 87 to 104, 2025, 2026, 123,000. And then I'm assuming, I'm guesstimating here, 2027, 57,000. So are we the only ones that are going to be paying?
Not in my mind, you know, you guys said what you only wanted to pay, but we were reading from.
Well, we're talking about right
Right, so what I'm saying, if we're gonna, I mean, if they sign a contract, they have to adhere to the contract, so, you know, we would say that we're willing
They're
to,
going to sign.
well,
That's the thing.
they, by statute, my understanding is that the villages by statute must provide police services themselves, and then townships have a little more flexibility, and so I don't know that they have the leverage and capability to just say that they're not going to pay, but, you know,
Well,
I don't,
he said they were going to pay, they were going to pay more than that. That's what it seems.
well, okay, my Ryan police contract, they either need to have their own police force, or they need to have a contract in place that provides police services. So if they're not going to sign the contract with the sheriff, where the sheriff's saying that this is going to incrementally go up, just like ours would incrementally go up, then they wouldn't be adhering to their statutory obligation. So, I mean, but that's their decision, and they have to do it,
But we're still the ones.
but I wouldn't subsidize, you know, those portions if they're not going to agree to incrementally pay more, just like we would be.
So our contract, if we sign this, our contract can be Cleveland, North Bend, and they're all, both villages are going to sign, and we're going to sign.
I would, in my opinion, it makes the most sense for everybody to be under one contract. And I believe that in the village of Aston, that the county needs to give us clarification, because that does impact those numbers, and it also impacts, coverage. In my opinion, we need 2.5. I think we need more than 2. I think whether it's 2 in a power shift, whether it's 2.5, whether it's 3, we need to have those cars, but that's only if Addiston is part of our of that contract, because they have their own police force, they have their own police department. They're just not filling the beats. So we need to know if they either need to fill their beats, or they need to come in with our contract and be a part of it all, one way or the other. But the county is the only one that can put their feet to the fire and make them, make a commitment one way or the other. So they have an officer on shift 24/7, 365, and then we would know that, and then we could reevaluate how many deputies we need to cover the unincorporated areas in Cleves and North Bend, knowing that there is a full-time, all the time police officer in Addiston. And if they can't fulfill that obligation and have full coverage all the time, 7 days a week, all year long, then in my opinion, that they need to come into the contract. And then we evaluate the needs, knowing that Addiston would be a part of that. So, I think that that's the first question that I think we need to figure out the best we can. But the county is the only one that can answer.
So the last meeting we had, you was in that meeting, he said when they left that meeting, he's going to Addison to negotiate them. This is in July, this is October, not one time difference in the proposal, two proposals. So right now, from the way I understand it, and I'm out every single night. Cleveland doesn't have a nighttime car. Addison doesn't fill a shift. The only one paying is Miami Township residents. That car gets dispatched any place there's a call. To me, once you take that car out of Miami Township, you're in violation of the contract, so that we supposedly have in place. Because you don't always find coverage. And to me, I think you could check into the Ohio Revised Code. I don't think they're they're allowed to do this to reduce the cost of an officer and give it to you at a cheaper rate, and they pick up the difference. I think they have to charge you the rate of an officer. Trying to verify that, but I don't think they can do this. If they can do this to us, if they can say, here's your contract, this is what you're gonna have to pay, and this is what we want you to pay. This is October's contract proposal. Why can't they do the exact same thing to Whitewater, Harrison, and Crosby, and say, here's your proposal. This is, if you want police coverage, this is what you gotta pay. Why can't they do it? Still saying we're negotiating with them. But when you negotiate with us for 2.5 years, and there's nothing. And that's the only issue. And, you guys deal with it, I guess, but I think I would work until so that you get them on board. I think we're gonna have to pay the same thing. If we have to pay for another car or half a car between January and May, where's that money gonna come from? But our levy, our police levy is good. You said it's good for all next year at the existing rate,
Yeah.
right?
At the lower rate. That we could get through next year.
Right?
Huh?
At that rate. It's
Right.
60.
Yeah, at that rate, we could get through
Yeah.
next year.
$160,000 addition for this year.
Right.
North Bend going down, Cleveland is going down. I know Mike said we can't control what they do. They want to control what we do. They're trying to tell us you have to pay this amount. I can show you Doug Salmon's email. We have a contract with the county. If you want to be part of it, you can pay 66%. Well, it's been 66% for over a year. The rates have never changed. Miami 66, North Bend 8, Cleveland 25. They've never, that's not negotiation, guys. They're telling you what you have to pay. If they can do it, that's fine. If they think they can do that, should be able to tell the other townships in the far west that we can all be on board, get your 6 cars out here doing the district. Which is probably a good idea, but there's just so much money available. And just so you know, where contracts, I still get negotiated, we worked on. I guess next up is,
We need to get an answer from the county on what Allison's doing. That's the first thing, and I said this at our last meeting, you both know this, you both go by it. They're advertising on the electronic sign that they're hiring full-time, part-time trust officers. So I honestly don't think they're gonna get on board. And so I think it's gonna be us, North Bend and Cleves, that we try to negotiate, and North Bend's already said what they're gonna do. So we have to make a decision on, Cindy said it gets us through next year, but I might,
you have North Bend okay these other increases, or is it like Danny said, his email said you're not gonna pay any more than what is in there?
I have no idea what, North Bend, but I would just say as far as Addison, I have seen the advertisements, I understand what you're saying, and I understand why you come to that conclusion. But from what I hear, they're really struggling. So it's one thing to advertise, it's another thing to actually hire. And so you can put out a help wanted sign, but if you're not successful in getting qualified individuals, officers in the door, then they have to reevaluate. Again, I hear you, and I get it, but when I hear they're not finding much success, that's just what I hear. So filling, and they either need to fill they either need to fill their beats and have their beats filled all the time, or so that we can count on that extra law enforcement presence, that extra officer around the clock, and doing our evaluation of what we need as far as coverage otherwise, or the county needs to say,
Cindy, did you look at on the July proposal? They carry it out through 29. If you got your 20%
Right,
increases,
20%.
okay.
Yeah.
Now look at 2028. I don't think they'll, okay. They're talking July, they're talking about 1.3 is proposal from Miami Township. And then you're gonna go from 1.3 to 1.5 in 29.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I did it, it's 20% all the way, they're increasing
and
20%.
if you look at the cost of estimates underneath the bottom on each one, it corresponds to what we're paying, what the actual cost is for the cars. It's starting in 29.
But you also gotta look at your increasing.
At 29, the cars are gonna cost 2.27. And that's the actual cost, and that's what you actually have to pay. Whereas the other, you're paying a reduced amount each year. In 28, the total cost of the cars is 2.1, and the 3 villages in the township would actually be paying 1.9. County's gonna pick up the difference. The county's gonna pick up the difference in 27. We're gonna pick up the difference in 26. But starting in 29, the full thing is gonna fall onto the 3 municipalities in the township. You see what I'm talking about?
I do know.
But if I start from the beginning, it's 20, I think they're just phase, it says phase into a phase, or phase it in,
You're
so
phasing in.
20%.
You're phasing in.
Right.
Looky here. 1.98, okay. Is the actual cost what we're gonna pay. And the actual cost of the county's charge is 2.1, but they're gonna pick up the difference between 1.98 and 2.1. We're gonna do it here. We'll do it here. Starting in 29, the actual cost is 2.27 million, and all villages and everybody have to pay 2.27.
right.
Here it's all been subsidized up until that period.
Not 2020, I got you.
And that's for the 20%, because the 20% is both the increase in the salary, but also less of that subsidizing going away. You know, and then incrementally going up.
It's like an interest rate, you know, you're paying down on principal and interest every time your mortgage goes. It's a progressive.
Well, they're subsidizing, if you look at number of cars, they're subsidizing the cars. We're actually paying for 1.75 cars in 24. And, they're gonna have 3 cars out here. They say they have 3 cars out here. And then 25 will be actually paying for 2 cars, and they say they have 3 cars out. When we get out to the end of their proposal, they have 3 cars out, you'll be paying for 3 cars. So you see that.
But, and then, I don't wanna keep us, but,
Okay.
so we have, if they say they need 3 cars out here to properly cover all of our area. And Addison is not in the mix, then essentially they're getting coverage for free. And it really doesn't matter whether they cover a half, 50% of their ships or not, because we have then more than enough coverage total. They're saying 3 cars, whether Addison is in the mix or not.
Right.
So then there's no incentive for Addison to come in to our contract because they can continue to have their police force, partial coverage or do whatever. And we would essentially have 3.5, the equivalent of 3.5 cars out here. And that's where, till we know that answer for Addison, we may need to say, okay, we need 2 cars or 2.5 cars or 2 cars and a power shift car or whatever. In addition to Addison, if they're going to retain their police department. If they're going to disband their police department and come into the contract and contract with sheriff, then we can say, okay, maybe we need that 2.5 or 3 cars total. But anyway.
So I guess the best place to go is back to the county, which is why I said 3 weeks, month and a half ago. We need to tell them what our levy is. Our levy's not up until next year. We won't go back on until next year. We can't pay any additional right now. Because your levy's not gonna handle it at the end of next year. So just ask them, tell them we'd like to continue to pay what we're paying until the levy is renewed. Maybe they'll have some idea what it's gonna be then.
That's true too, but also we need an answer on that, and we get an answer whether Cleves and North Bend is going to be free to this.
Yeah,
You read the same email I read.
They keep saying that one of the villages is reaching out to them and wanting to get this done. Well, you know what?
So we just need to know if they're gonna sign the contract, I mean, whether they're gonna sign it or they're not gonna sign it. Because they're not gonna sign it, obviously, we can't work the whole contract themselves.
Right.
So if they're not gonna sign it, then that's what we need to do that, so we can do what's best for this money township,
Well, yeah,
right?
I think that as soon as we find out about Addison, we should be in a position to go to them with a reasonable proposal that I mean, we don't negotiate with Cleves and like that, they negotiate with. So they go and say, we have Miami Township on board, we have, this is the situation. They have to decide whether they're going to be agreeable or not.
Right, so that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying, we just need to know if they're gonna sign the contract. Well, we're gonna have to ask for a review.
You have to assume that this October, you have to assume the October proposal would have to be talked to Addison because they said that's what they were gonna do when they left here that day. Campy and Aludo, I bet you one never said one word to Addison. I think you ought to try to have one of the county commissioners come out and talk to them because we're getting nowhere with number 2 with Mr. Aludo.
I know you guys have done it. What about another meeting with everybody again?
We just getting everybody. I mean, this is one of the county commissioners and tell them why we're in the position we are. Apparently, they keep telling us they're the ones working this year, the county commission. Okay, so we want to reach out to one of, the board of county commissioners and said, one of them would come out and meet with us.
Well, me with us, we were all,
Well, that's me.
and I would think, we need an answer.
Because it looks to me like, how do you vote on this, to approve or disapprove, I'm gonna be going in.
So then, yeah. And then we need an answer from us, then, and an answer from the sheriff's on it clears in the dinner room for the increase. Because we need to know what we're gonna have to do by early next year.
We have to have it on by early August, but there's a process, we have to start,
That's what I mean.
starts in June.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely start the process.
we'll know the property evaluation in January.
Right.
I mean,
That would be-
yeah, so probably by April or May, we probably need to figure this out in what direction we're going. So, I mean, and I think that a commissioner would probably be willing to meet potentially, but my experience is that, they mostly work through the administrator, Jeff Woodville. But yeah, we can reach out and see what the situation is. Again, my big question is what's going on with them. And they are the only ones that can answer that. So whether that is a meeting or whether that's just a direct email or call or whatever the situation is, but I think that we need to get that through.
What you can't just generate a letter to them and ask them what status is. That way we have a written response and that way we can get the trail.
To send a letter.
With come from Township.
Right.
We just have a letter and I'll get you signed it, I'll sign it.
What was that? Sorry, I missed it. What did you say?
So your Christmas was has to be in by December 15th. What I'm saying
But
is
basically, you're saying we need to send a letter.
generate a letter, I'll sign it, just asking, do we know the status of Addison and are the other voters already on board with the increase through 29?
To the county commissioners. I'm sorry.
I probably sent Jeff, citizens. Here we go. Yeah.
So who's gonna write the letter and then give it to me to send or type up or?
Can you generate it? Or you want me to generate a letter and give it to them?
Either way,
I mean, all we want to know is Addison agreed to come on board with it? I mean, it's not gonna make that much difference.
Yeah, we could work on that together.
Addison won't be paying that much anyway.
And then, we can help you with the draft and maybe just run it by the board and say, is everybody on board, good with this?
Okay.
Of course, the captains would be going in 2 weeks and, I got a call the other night, 7 o'clock at night, that the door was locked down at town hall when Cleese had their tax meeting. I don't know if he found a way to make sure that door was open or not, but, I went down to unlock it and they'd already irritated and mad, and they left, went down to the Cleese community meeting hall and had the meeting down there.
What date was this, Jeff?
You'd have to look at Carrie's, they booked it through Carrie. Gordon Ray Hall, he's the one that contacted me. He said the doors are locked.
It's Friday or Saturday?
I can't remember what day it was. They called me at 7, 5 minutes after 7.
No, I don't know. It was last week.
I went down there and locked it and they were gone. They put a big sign on the door.
It was,
The meeting in December, do you guys want to do 2 meetings in December? I mean, the second meeting in December would be December 20th. I mean, you need 2 meetings in December. You know when you want to do it.
well, that would have to be the December 20th. That's the public.
Yeah, we'll just leave it December 20th.
All right, we'll do it first. All right.
Mike, what do you think?
Make a motion. So
So forego the December 6th meeting, is that what you're proposing? Okay, yeah, I mean, we don't have anything major.
We can always add it back. I would,
You make that the motion, need a motion, Cindy?
yeah,
Huh?
well,
You're gonna cancel, need a motion and say you post it on the door, or post it on the
Yeah.
wall.
Can we just, why don't we just,
I think
it's
we're
only
rushing into it.
beginning of November, why don't we say that tentatively we're planning unless there's something pressing issue that we'll go ahead and cancel that meeting.
So, you know, yeah, I agree. I think we're rushing. Things come up so quickly and the fire chief and
Right.
we got, you know,
Okay. And, that's,
October 25th. Yeah. Was when they were down there.
pretty good.
what did I do? It was October 25th.
Paycheck.
For what?
The doors,
Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you. I will go back and check, but I program them when she sends over the lock schedule, so.
I don't know if there's any way. There's no way you can go in and check and make sure it would show green, wouldn't it, if it done lock? That's 7 o'clock at night. You wouldn't be-
Well, no, what I can go by is the schedule that she sends me for door locks. Because I will go through and program the door locks for those days. Based on the times that she gives me. So if those are all initialized, that door lock would have been set. As to why it did or did not unlock, I can tell you that there have been network issues. We were dealing with that today, as you saw, Jack, with changing over the park and 69 wasn't working. So there's been a lot of kind of network wonkiness happening. It could have been a glitch error. Sometimes those things happen. So I think in all likelihood, the door was programmed. I can't explain why at that given moment.
Do they schedule the doors for, because another call I got was it wasn't open the night of the course, but I didn't think we don't schedule that, do we?
Again, that's, Mrs. Rovers is the one who
Yeah.
does all of the scheduling part. I can only go off of the schedule that's given to me to unlock. But if ever in question
I
too,
think Jimmy Hughes wound up unlocking it that night because he was part of the course.
yeah,
and
I honestly can't speak to it, but I always have my laptop at home. If I'm available, people can call me, or if they get a hold of Mrs. Rovers and they say, oh, the door should be unlocked. I can, rather than drive up here to the township to see if it's unlocked, I can access that to look at it and say, yes, there's a problem, or it should be unlocked,
We
or
actually operate doors.
most times, unless the network's down.
All right. Like to thank North Bend, I guess they had a meet the candidates the other night. And, I'm not sure both candidates showed up, but they did have a meet the candidates. But there, maybe that's a good thing, maybe all the villagers should have done it, had one, maybe we should have one too, I don't know. But especially, got 2 new people coming in. One new person to 2 run. I did go up and look at the, on Bear Lane up there. You guys, me and Ronnie and, girl in the county and, yeah, and Miranda Holmes. He was completely agreeable to whatever one he do, I'll do it, which is all like that. And, he said, we'll try to get it done when we do blacktopping up to the new part of the top of the lane. Only thing is that, we got a tree and, at one point, you got a tree between the sidewalk and the curb. It's not allowed. They move them out from that. But, other than that, I got nothing.
I did have a really good meeting with street Brandon's Cindy about where are we starting to think about the budget and so it was a good meeting. They're supposed to come back for a meet again in a few weeks. Then we'll meet again, but just so there might be some changes that they will be asking for next year, but they're supposed to get me numbers and all that, so it was good. I mean, they were asking questions about the TIF, and so I'm sure it'll be, like I said, we'll be meeting again, and then we'll meet with, once I meet with them one more time, and we'll meet with the finance committee, and then we'll bring
What they teach in the department has.
till November 17th. The only one I received was Mr. Hughes. I got an email from him. Carrie has talked to me. And then that was street. They'll definitely have everything ready. I've not heard from Ron, but Ronnie usually comes. And senior center will too, but they usually don't have a lot. So
This, this year, we're gonna do something on parking. We can, that's not.
yeah, that's not really right. No, I don't. Oh, copiers, real quick. Was talking to Kim. Where do we stand with the fire department getting each a copier? Our problem is we are spending a fortune on toners for printers, $500 a month at least on toners because people are using the printer as your copier. So I know we brought it up that there's people.
You did bring,
So
I haven't heard nothing since.
no, I know we talked yesterday and I'm like, that hasn't been brought up. So is that something we need to get with Mike Taylor or?
Mike got prices, didn't he? I thought he got.
I thought he got
No,
prices.
we got prices and Mike went back with one to review based on what you guys talked about in the meeting and get back with you guys about.
Right, doing all three? or
Yeah, because
I thought he was talking about
now,
getting one
now
each
Captain
station
Bonner
or
was
something,
in the meeting
instead of getting.
and he said he was okay with one and then evaluate down the road for two. And then Mike was gonna look at
I
whatever.
think we decided, or you guys decided that maybe they really probably should each have a. Because what they're doing is every lieutenant, captain, employee, they're all using the printers. That's a lot. You know that when you use your own printer, that's a lot of printing. You need a copier.
When they were doing training,
Huh? Yeah, so I don't know, someone Mike, you want to reach out to Mike and get your status on that? But you know, when she said that, I'm thinking, tuners are expensive, but are printers.
I think that was brought up when you were here and we take the city gas.
Oh, that could be.
I
That could be.
think that's
That
what
could
happened.
be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that,
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, for all this treating material and all this other stuff, they should be using copiers and, I know they got the training down at 69. But I'm sure there's administrative things up here. I think we talked about you getting one new one up here, because of all the administration of the fire department being here, but extending the one that they have here down to 69, to
They don't
see how
have
that works.
copiers, do they?
And
They
then,
have one, but it only prints black and white copies. The only color printer that we have is in the administration offices.
So
That
then,
work
you're
out.
right, that one could be moved to like 68. And they might need color up here and.
yeah, and then, kind of see if that fixes it or if we need to order additional ones, but those are all things we talked about. Like that. So I'm happy to follow.
Okay. That's a lot. You have anything to add on that, Tim?
Mr. Williams?
No, we were in contract, we were talking, how this got brought about was the monthly contract with the copiers and how we negotiated the pricing and then did a combined bundle structure versus each one having an individual allotment amount per copier, like at the senior center or here or up here. So what I was able to do is get a bundled copier amount, which increased our color copies as well as actually it lowered the black and white, but increased the color because we were consistently going over the allotted amount in certain areas with the higher traffic over here.
So we were seeing excess charges of anywhere from $70 up to $130 a month on top of our monthly contract. And so I asked them to evaluate and look at a bundle package, which would be more in line for our usage overall. So that it's kind of a share. So now we've gotten it down to not only paying the monthly that we normally do, but we've almost eliminated, very rarely will we have an overage going forward due to too many copies or too less, because it's all bundled together and it equates out on the big scheme. So it's saving the township a lot of money doing it that way, but then that's what brought up the color copies for the fire department and need for that copier and the ladder and all that good stuff. So it's a work in progress.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. You think of this?
Yeah, one thing or a couple things. If I'm listening to you correctly, we basically are pretty close to hiring an administrator. He's in the way. We're down to one final guy.
We have approved a verbal, was that last meeting or 2 meetings? I think it was last meeting. Last meeting, the board voted to extend an offer to a candidate, which we have done, and all we're trying to do is negotiate a contract with this. So we then reached out to our legal just drafted the contract, which we received 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, to review and then present to that individual. And assuming that we can sign it, that we don't have any reservation and that they sign it, then that individual has already said that they would tentatively start on November 14th. As long as in the next few days or week, whatever, that we can get that contract and finalize tonight.
So with that being said, the contract, is it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, how do you do that?
The draft proposal, I don't know if I should go into, I mean, I know the answer of what's in the draft, but I don't know if we should be discussing the draft, but, I mean, right now it's in negotiation status. It was given, it's draft, so I probably rather wait until we formalize that contract, but.
Okay, that's fine. Once this individual, he or she is hired, the police department here, we've been kicking this can for a long time. And we got 3 individuals up there that you all guys kind of got different ideas. They're all great ideas. We're in a situation where we got to really move forward strong. And maybe you guys don't have the time to do that. Is that a position or a job that 3 trustees say, the new administrator, this is what we need you to do. We need you to dig deep and work on this problem as fast as you can. That as a whole, we can come up with some type of solution. So the next meeting, I or whoever comes to, there's an answer. Yeah, Addison's going to do this, or North Bend's going to do that, because it's hard for 3 different individuals to come up with that answer. If we delegate that to the administrator, and basically you are the administrator's boss, am I correct on this?
Yeah.
So he's going to do what you delegate, I presume. Just as me as an outsider, that would be a rabbit hole to send him or her in quick and work on. And maybe we can come up with a solution. The second thing is, I think the water situation is a fantastic idea. You're going to hit a home run. You please these people on Jordan Road. They want water. We all know that. They're going to settle for water. I don't care if it's a Taj Mahal building or if it's something. You know what I mean? So the least expensive, whatever it's going to take. We're going to hit a home run with these people. We should hit a home run with these people. We all agree with that. And I think it's going to be great to move forward. That'd be their Christmas present. And the third thing is, I know we really stress on our police department here. And I don't truly understand it, me as an individual, that we got one car or 1.5 cars. I see problems over where I live. And I'll sit in 4 cars there. Where in the world are they coming from? 4 cars to 1 resident. So there's cars out there and they're responding and 2 and 3 cars at some of these instances. Me personally, I know we need police, but me personally, I'm getting a drift. We need to protect our fire department. Is it up next year?
Yeah.
Okay,
Please.
if you really think about it as a resident, I'd say over 50 or 60%, this is just me. You're gonna use that fire department before you use that police department. You need EMS, the ambulance, and fire. Let's not kick the can so far that we can't fund the fire department. Don't tax us out of our houses. I know it's rough. I know it's hard. Everything's got up with inflation. My taxes are, you throw $3 million just for the police. Buddy, I'm up there.
No, yeah, that's
And
true.
anybody come under my taxes, I feel mine are high. But other places are too, but it comes to that point where people can only pay so much. You know it, we all know it. And I just think that it's great to have the police, it's great to have these cars, but let's not forget about our fire department, because if you come back and ask the residents for 2 or 3 million on the fire, you know what I mean? And it could happen, but we gotta, when the house is burning, cops ain't cutting it out.
No.
Believe me. And when you have that heart attack or your loved one or something, you want that ambulance there. And, unfortunately, where I've lived, I've had to use the fire department twice. I hope no one ever has to. But I'm satisfied with the response that I had, the issues that I had. And I hope never have to use them again. But I just worry that we're so focused on the police. I don't think Hamilton County Sheriffs give a damn about us. If they cared, they would work. And maybe they're trying to work with us. But I don't think they are.
They have a boss too. I mean, in all fairness, I mean, county commissioner, and but I just don't see the fairness when we're paying $550,000. We've had a contract for over 50 years. We're probably the longest running contract the county has. That's
And I
work
think,
for sure.
I think what Mr. Beck said, having a vote. Let the public, I think that's a fantastic idea myself. If there's any way that you can have a vote, you know.
We should put it on the ballot.
No, he's talking about just putting it on the levy and let the residents vote.
But in all fairness, you need a plan B. You gotta have a plan B, because do you take all the money off this table and say we're going for a whole new package? Because there'd be 3 different parts to that. There's one that's, part of that police funding is a benefit for gratuity, which we voted on is a permanent tax, 1.67 mil. There's another $0.5 or 7 cents of a mil, which put on later than a new tax. Each one generates a different amount of money. Each one of those parcels of that total would generate a different amount of money based on the valuation of property. And if we do it, we just throw it out there, no sense having 1.67 mils available for police, because that ain't not going to do you good. Maybe just put it all on it, say take it all or leave it. Then what happens to plan B? I just don't want to, you know.
That's all I got.
But you're right. I mean, and taxes, you don't know where your property tax is going to go. Look at your tax bill. There's probably 13 different entities in there sucking money from it. And I don't think any of them going to go down. None of them going. Everybody needs money.
So we're gonna have to decide as a board, this year, so take into consideration the fire department is what I want to do. Take some also.
There was another one, pick up part, there's is a gratuity contract.
Right, I can't really do anything to you.
What gratuity is the old
I mean, I-
evaluation?
Huh?
It's the old evaluation, new evaluation?
As soon as,
New evaluation.
that doesn't start from 2025, but I think the contract has to be agreed upon by May of next year. Yeah, so like Street said, I will have a good understanding from that contract, and then what is going to be asked. Because I told him, I said, we need to know what you guys are gonna be thinking the next 5 years for the levy, so we know, or 3 years, whatever, but, right, so.
Georgia, 887.
I mean, I know what you're saying, but in my experience, West Side communities in general, we're right in the heart of it all, very much values first responders. And that's not only the fire, the EMS, but the police. And then frankly, a lot of our residents are first responders. So they're living right here in our community. And I think that we need to value both. So I get what you're saying as far as, fire responding, EMS responding. But when it's hitting the fan and you do have incidents that we do have, still have an epidemic with a lot of our heroin, the fentanyl, all that other stuff. Where there's a lot of stuff going around, and that's right in our community. And frankly, there's the theft and the break-ins and all the other things that come with that as well. And I want our residents to feel safe all around, whether it's police, fire, EMS. So it's not an easy decision. That's why we're up here and elected to represent the people. But I think we need to take all that into consideration and try to make the best decision possible.
Well, how do you feel about what I said about letting the administrator jump in that rabbit hole and get to these and work on this?
I couldn't agree. Well, that's one of the reasons I pushed for an administrator in the first place. When I was, shortly after I came on board, was because sometimes it's nice, again, the traditional role of a township trustee, and not necessarily here, but just in general, across most communities in Ohio that are our size, the upper medium sized townships. Again, they're kind of a board of directors, and you have the CEO. The CEO runs the day-to-day operation. That they review these things, they investigate, they come back with proposals and suggestions to the board, and then the board says, yes, I like that, I don't like that, let's look at this, let's go shape. And so that's the relationship that I've been trying to build since I came here, is exactly what you're saying. Let that administrator go out. They have the time, they have the ability, they're not an elected official, so they kind of come at it from a little different angle. And they can approach some of these other jurisdictions, have conversations that maybe some electeds may or may not be willing to have. But what I'm saying, I think you understand. And then, that individual can come back, just like you said, and say, here's option A, B, and C, what do you guys want to do? But it kind of keeps things separated a little bit, and let them, whether it's personnel issues, whether it's contract negotiations, things like that. That's why this is a very valuable position to have, and that's why I was pushing for it from the start. So I agree completely.
Okay, thanks. Anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, Mr. Blanton?
Yes.
Mr. Reiniger?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.